Good morning, all. I've decided to make a short video in response to the latest fake news assault on the nation. Going backwards, obviously the first one that comes to mind is this MAGA hat Covington kids controversy, in which they were completely railroaded by the media. The media was complicit in trying to get children. Kathy Griffin herself called for the doxxing of innocent children who had done nothing wrong. As it turns out, CNN has confirmed, and I can put the link to CNN's article itself, which has the further video. You can watch the full video, of course, of what happened. You have what essentially are black supremacists. They're called Hebrew Israelites. I've seen them before. And they were taunting everyone, including Native Americans, and the kids started doing positive high school chants for their high school. And then Mr. Nathan Phillips, who is an alt-left troll, who is really not representative of Native Americans. I can tell you that because I have Native American cousins, and they are very conservative, almost redneck, you know. And he goes over and he basically gets in their face and causes a scene and endangers the lives of kids for his selfish, racist rhetoric, which is super rose-colored glasses in the first place. I mean, he's really talking some nonsense, to be honest with you. And the media was totally complicit, and now a whole lot of people are having to eat crow, but there are a few who won't, because they will double down and they'll say that it was all justified. You know, the kid has a punchable face, blah blah blah. You know, and maybe he does, but that doesn't mean that it's actually legit to go punch him in the face. And actually, I think he's a legend. I think he's a hero for standing his ground and saying, I have a right to exist right here. He is also Native American. He's born in the United States of America. He is a Native American. He can't go back to Europe, as one of the Aborigines suggested, because he's probably never even been to Europe. Right? Imagine if we said that, you know, African Americans need to go back to Africa. Like, if actually that was said. Right? It's a complete nonsense, right? So it's a strange time. And then you have the entire debacle no one's talking about, where BuzzFeed reports that Trump is going to go to jail for sure, and here it comes, and then the FBI comes out and says, what are you talking about? That is in no way, shape, or form the reality of the investigation. Now, why is the FBI investigation endless, by the way? They're not uncovering new stuff. It's endless because as soon as they stop that investigation, Trump is they're hoping to get through the election cycle and Trump lose. Because as soon as Trump can, he's going to fire all sorts of people, and he's going to release the documents. He's probably going to force that release anyways early here in this year. But essentially what's happened at the FBI is that they wrongfully investigated some people and lied to the FISA courts in order to get their warrants. And that's what the FBI is sort of sitting on, and it's been a huge problem. If you want to know more, go to Judicial Watch, the channel, and you'll learn all you need to know about what's going on inside the FBI. It basically, you got two camps, but one camp is a little bit more powerful because they were put in place during the Obama administration. They were promoted up. And those guys, they are literally looking at lifetime felonies if they are at least 10 and 20 years, that kind of thing. But for many of those guys, that's their entire remainder of their life. And as soon as they are convicted, so they're trying to drum up something. They're living in a hope of creating a further controversy. I mean, that's the state we're at. Is the FBI wants there to be something, because some of the people at the head of the FBI that are left over, they were involved in keeping under wraps the FISA court lying that they had done. And that's the straight truth. You can go research it all on your own. So then I get on this morning, and Campus Reform is reporting that a TA at the University of Georgia named Osei Fromberg, I think I'm saying that correctly, I don't know 100%, you'd have to go watch the Campus Reform video, that he has called for the death of some whites to create equality. This is this idea that if you have a statistical equality, that you'll create actual equality. Of course, that's logical nonsense. Right? It doesn't work that way. So I encourage people to call the University of Georgia like I have and call for the removal of this TA. They are obviously genocidal maniacs, and that's the state we live in. So what have we learned? Well, it's okay to endanger the lives of white boys without any evidence or justification. It's okay to call for the genocide, as Thomas Curry did down in Texas, of white people. And if we're wearing a Make America Great Again hat or supporting Trump, you're part of the evil that promulgates and just exudes all over the place. And, and that Trump is some kind of Russian pawn. This is the state of delusion in our country. And I can't support it any longer. I am fully against the progressive caste system. And I'm going to ask you this day after Martin Luther King Day to also be against caste systems. This hierarchy that has been assigned, this implicit, hierarchy, which segregates people and even segregates within the race, right? African American who votes Democrat way up here, but black conservative way down here, somehow like lower than a dog. Not acceptable. Not acceptable. And for me, whoever has the facts is the person who has the moral high ground. It's not it's not a party that you vote for. If anything, the Democrats are lacking the moral high ground as far as the party history goes. You just go watch any Dinesh D'Souza video and you can really quickly learn the history of the Democratic Party. It's not pretty. It's literally the inspiration for the Third Reich's own laws. In many ways, Hitler and FDR were mutual admirers of each other. So the reality is that just voting a certain party, one or the other party, doesn't make you morally superior. Facts, using science, being rational, being calm, having Western liberal values, meaning, life, liberty, the pursuit of happiness, property, those are the things that give you a moral superior high ground. But Martin Luther King, he'd be rolling in his grave to hear what's going on in this country. And it's probably why you don't hear a lot of people on the alt-left in support of Martin Luther King, because what he called for was an actual equality. That's not what they want. They want a caste system. And yeah, it's related to socialism. And we could talk about that another time, but this has got to go. It's got to end, or it's not going to go anywhere well, and it's going to be really dangerous if people don't. You voters, if you are a Democrat, do not vote for progressives. Stop doing it. Okay? Just stop doing it and vote for somebody with some, at least some kind of sense. If not, they might be an operator. Like Nancy Pelosi and Mitch McConnell, these are operators. These are the kinds of people that they'll say one thing, do the other. But they're at least rational. They understand. They're not crazy, is what I'm saying. They're not crazy. People like Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez, they do not use any logic. They just make up things as they go. And it's really incredibly dangerous. And the kind of violent rhetoric that they are proposing is not going to go anywhere good for this country. And it is a real shame because the first Civil War was, 1.5 million to 2 million dead people. Mostly white men. There were some Native Americans that fought on the side of the Confederacy against the Union, and there were some freedmen who fought for the Union, and there were some slaves that fought on the Confederacy side because they were forced to. But by and large, it was mostly, young white men who died. And it ended the slavery question, right? So what are we doing going back here? I mean, how daft do you have to be to not just read history and understand the danger that lies in creating these social hierarchies? That's what happened, right? It wasn't only about the South and the North. It was about the ideals, right? The ideals of these all men are created equal. Boom. Well, and some people didn't think so, and we ended up in a civil war. Well, now we're at a place where people, again, somehow don't think that people are created equal. Now, you might not stay equal. You might do something that ruins your chance of saying, I'm a superior person, right? Like Milo Yiannopoulos, he sort of ruined his own reputation, right? That happens. But it's not like he wasn't born equal. We all are born naked in the hands of a doctor or nurse or midwife, put into the hands of our mother and father. And when we die, it's a mostly solitary process. So who are we pretending that there's this acceptable caste system? Look what the caste system has done for India. As far as I'm concerned, in the last 3,000 years, nothing good. So I'm rejecting it, and I hope you reject it too. If you like this video, hit the like, share, and subscribe. If you don't, feel free to argue with me in the bottom. Leave a good argument as to why the TA is right and how some white people are going to have to die. Like out of the ordinary, right? They're going to have to be killed off. Go ahead and explain that one, right? And explain what's so wrong about the Covington kids chanting in favor with the Native Americans and against negative rhetoric that was being thrown at them, racial slurs, homophobic slurs, etc. You let me know. All right? I challenge you.